Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call to order at this time this June 11th meeting of the Lynn Haven City Commission. And if you would at this time stand with me for the invocation. And since my favorite Leon Miller pastor is not here, I'll ask it today. Father, we thank you for this opportunity to meet together to do the business of the city. And what an important time it is right now. So many important decisions to be made that affect so many people's lives, Lord. Help us to work together to come to the best decisions that would do the best for everyone in this city. Give each person here comfort and peace as they struggle with this day-to-day insurance and adjusters and trying to get things back to a normalcy. But just to remember that through it all, that your hand is guiding each of us and that you are there, that you never leave us, and that we can find comfort and joy in you. I ask these things in your name, God. Amen.
Amen.
If you would join me now in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. For the mayor's report, I'll start out by telling you what a slacker I was for the last 2 weeks, because I did have almost a week of vacation, and the first time really to go away since the storm and just leave everything behind. I have traveled a few days here and there, but really not for a vacation. Went sailing in San Diego where the temperature was 68 degrees during the daytime, so that was lovely, and enjoyed it very much. I flew home Thursday night on the red eye and then drove to Jacksonville Friday morning, and I went there to meet with Florida Blue. I don't know if you remember, and they've been all over Twitter about this since I met with them again yesterday and got home late last night. But the Florida Blue CEO, Mr. Jarity, and Darnell Smith, the Northwest Florida leader for Florida Blue, and the entire board met with me. We met for almost an hour, and I was able to tell them our story, what we went through here in Lynn Haven. And if you remember, when we had our Thanksgiving dinner, Florida Blue gave us $10,000 to help with that in the park. And so after yesterday's presentation that I took for them, A Key to the City, thanking them, they are ready to push forward with us again. And the CEO asked me the question, were we going to do something to commemorate Hurricane Michael on October 10th? And we have been discussing this among the staff for a while, but I wanted to go ahead and announce that today so that you could put it on your calendar. Even though we're still in the planning stages, we will have a very special day on October 10th in Sheffield Park. And right now we're thinking commemorative is what we're going to call it, because it's certainly a joyful day. It's not a day of sadness, but it's a somber day too, because we all went through and are still going through a lot. But we have been brainstorming, but the Florida Blue has pledged their support financially for that event. And right behind them, after I spoke with them, I received a message from the CEO of Publix in Jacksonville, who was the major sponsor for our Thanksgiving dinner, and they have tagged on and they are going to help us as well with this celebration. So already people are joining in. And then I had an opportunity to talk to them about our Hurricane Relief Fund, how we've been spending it, how we have awarded over $150,000 in cash to our residents. And he said, how is it doing? Are you still getting applications? And I said, well, sir, we have a little over 1,500 applications, and I'm looking over next to me, and the gentleman next to me, I saw him write down 1.5 on a piece of paper, and I went, looked back down like this. So I tried not to look, and I was thinking, well, maybe there's something in the works. But they do want to help us. I think he was totaling what it would cost to fill them. And then they asked, what could they do to help us recover? And as I was looking at the CEO and talking with him, and I saw the compassion with this group of people and how they want to work with us, I said, sir, we need jobs. What we need in Lynn Haven is jobs, and I noticed on Twitter, on your page, that you have 500 job openings you're filling in Jacksonville right now, and we would love to have you in Lynn Haven. We would love to have you bring an office here, and so we are going to meet again in the coming weeks, and we're going to be doing some talking. So we had a very productive meeting. They are a wonderful group of people, and who knows where that's going to go. Also, some of the ideas that have been coming for that day that we would celebrate in the park in October would be to invite our government officials like the governor and Rick Scott, Marco Rubio, people who came here, Ashley Moody a few days before the election. that we would maybe dedicate or have some type of groundbreaking out where our new city hall will go. We've had discussions. Nothing's been set in stone because we're going to be having lots of public meetings to talk about how this will all happen. But maybe a fountain or something beautiful out there to commemorate the fact that a building was destroyed but lives were saved. We lost no lives in Lynn Haven. Maybe an opportunity for families to buy brick pavers with their families' names. We were here, and the date and that kind of thing. So we're very excited about moving forward, and I know that our staff is going to have all kinds of good ideas to push that forward, and I'm really excited about that. And then I think that's all I had for... I have had an opportunity to be on a national public radio, and that was broadcast all over the United States twice in the last month in various cities. I've had friends from Houston to call and told me they heard it. I've had people from Tallahassee that they heard it, and getting out our story some more. So, and then one more piece of good news. I don't have the check in hand, but I did run into Mr. James Finch this afternoon, and he has pledged $10,000 to the city for our fireworks for the 4th of July. So I'll be getting that from him a little later. So that's going to help us a lot with our costs. So that's the end of my report, and I'll defer and go down to Commissioner Tender.
Thank you, Mayor. I've basically been dealing with the same issues. I talk to at least 3 people a week that come in and talk to me about their inspections or lack thereof. And so that's primarily been what I've been dealing with. However, interesting thing happened. I was at the counter talking to this gentleman, and he was telling me his story. And I said, well, you need to go see our interim for our 60-day inspector, Michael Gordon. And so I gave him the phone number and all of that. I went back over and I sat down next to this gentleman. I didn't know who he was. He said, I want to introduce myself. Michael Gordon. I said, oh, great. I said, well, you heard I sang your praises, so I'm expecting big things from you. And he said, yes. I was really impressed with this man. I mean, he's telling me he's going in attics. He's actually hands-on type inspections. So I think we can trust his outcomes. And his outcomes haven't been that positive over the majority of what he's done. He's having to deny a lot of the work that's been done. But I think he's going to turn things around for us and do great things because he's very, very dedicated to what he does. But other than dealing with roofs, which is my primary thing these days, that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. Commissioner Russell?
Thank you, Mayor. I, too, unfortunately, have been dealing with permit issues, building department issues, and it's getting to be an old record. But I will say on another note that what I've seen out of Mr. Gordon so far, I've been very impressed. Our building department seems to be very happy with the work he's doing, and the few issues that I've brought before the building department, he has handled in a very timely manner. So far he's got my attention, and I'm hoping that it continues to move forward. I've also had a couple meetings with Vicky, acting city manager, Ms. Gaynor, and she keeps me informed with everything, which I'm very proud of that and very happy with that. I've also had several meetings with one of our city engineers, as well as the Long-Term Recovery Task Force has finally come out with their supposed final draft. This is the only copy I have at the moment. I couldn't convince them that I needed one for everybody, but anybody that would like to look at it, you're more than welcome to look at it. There's almost 300 projects in here. At some time, the end of next month, they will have the final draft, and that will be offered up to everybody. But in the interim, if anybody wants to look at it, I'll be glad to sit here after the meeting and let y'all look through it. Thank you, Mayor. That's all I've got.
Thank you. Commissioner Aldridge?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. It's been a busy couple of weeks. Obviously, we're all fighting as hard as we can for the citizens here. We're citizens as well, so we're fighting for ourselves as well as for you each and every day. Over the last couple of weeks, I know I reached out to our city attorney about the old fuel depot, about looking over the contract that we had, the agreement. and he's still looking into this. But I want our people to have that fuel depot. I want Lynn Haven residents to be able to put that to use and do something with that property. So he's looking in to see kind of where any defaults may have taken place in this agreement. So that ball is rolling. I got a call yesterday morning from the county, and they told me that there was some U.S. Census people that were coming in, and they wanted to see if I wanted to be there to meet with them and take them on a tour possibly. So I met them up there and talked with them for a while, and it was encouraging to me because I'm really concerned about the census. That's a lot of money that comes from our federal government every year that we're going to miss out on because of our numbers, because of the people moving away. And there's not a lot of people that are willing to step up and give us answers from the federal government of how we can solve this issue. So we're doing everything we can to try to, make sure that we're getting that money. It's not being cut off from us. So we had a good meeting with them. They saw damage. They saw the Briarwood apartments over there. They saw some of the trailer parks that are destroyed and no one can live in these homes. And so they're starting to see kind of some of the issues that we're having. It's not that people don't live here, it's that they can't. Okay, it's a big difference in not wanting to and can't. So I went over that. And then last night I went to the Florida League of Cities quarterly meeting. Of course, the Florida League is concerned with the hurricane recovery just like all the rest of us are. So take assurance in knowing that every municipality in this area, all the way up to Albany, Georgia, is fighting to make our home a better place. So, and I want to make sure I'm involved in that as well, that I'm fighting for you guys. And then finally, I made some calls to, kind of had an idea. I thought, well, what is a big organization that can help possibly with trees, or our ReTree, Lynn Haven ReTree PC group that is here locally. And so I thought, let's reach out to Kiwanis. The Florida Kiwanis Club has 15,000 members. It's a ministry-based children's group, and they, part of the point in their whole organization is to show children how to help, how to be a good person in our society and help out people when they need it. So they're interested in that. Hopefully we can get 100,000 trees out of them. That'd be great. 10 trees out of each of them is 150,000. So that'd be awesome. But that's what I've been working on, and fighting hard for our city every day. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Parnell?
Thank you, Mayor. Not much to report. I've met with several citizens about different issues and tried to lend a helping hand as best I could. I attended the Historical Society Memorial Day celebration over at the Soldier Old Joe, and it was amazing to see and be a part of, and I really appreciate the invite. I spoke with a friend a friend of mine from old Ruby Tuesday days who lives in Orange Beach, Alabama, and the people over there in the Gulf Shores, Orange Beach and Foley, have gone through exactly what we've been through with Ivan, and their timeline is about 10 years ahead of us, and their funding and so in the conversation I just realized that we're kindred in a lot of ways, and it's already happened to them. And they've developed over 27 miles of bike trails off their state park. They have an overpass in their downtown area that connects their downtown area to their city park, which kind of like, I just said, wow. That would be amazing, that if one day we connect Sheffield Park to Florida Avenue, and they utilize that overpass as it's a focal point for the city. It's actually a beautiful overpass during the day, and then in the nighttime, it's actually a visual light show as people drive by and whatnot. It's become a postcard picture for the city of Foley. I did inquire as to who was behind it economically and whatnot. So I have a couple names, and I'm looking forward to maybe a day trip over there and meeting some people, and hopefully making a connection. So as we rebuild and get visual ideas for what we need, that we might be able to get it from somebody who's already been through there and made the trial and error to make things better for their community. So, and then I don't want to end my report without putting Ricky Ramey on the spot about Sergeant Jim Smith's cookout coming up on Friday, right? Is it Friday or Saturday? It's Saturday from 11 to 1. You can go ahead and talk about it if you want, Ricky.
Sure.
Yeah, because I just want to give you the stage.
It's from 11 to 1 this Saturday, and we're going to do a drive-through. Basically, Whataburger and several businesses have donated the burgers. So we're going to do a burger, a hot dog, a water, and some chips. And you'll come through. It's $6 a plate, and you can either eat under the big white tent where the old PD used to be, or you can just grab it to go. Either way, but it'll be from 11 to 1 this Saturday. Right behind the old city hall where the big white tent is.
Now, after I put him on the spot, I'm going to end my report.
Thank you, Commissioner Perno. And Police Chief Ramey, correct me if I'm wrong, but all the proceeds from that go to assist the family, correct? Yes. So that's an opportunity to do something to help. So we'll move on now to item number 5, which is our acting city manager's report. Vicki Gaynor has that report for us.
Thank you, Mayor. First, before we get started, there are a couple of employees that we want to recognize. Many of these employees were employees of the month right after the storm, and we just didn't get a chance to do that. And we don't ever want to miss the opportunity to tell our employees thank you. So we actually have 3 employees that we need, and then we'll be caught up of what we need to do to recognize them today, and we're happy to be able to do it. So I will ask Community Services Director David Horton if you'll come up first.
I have to cheat my older days. One at a time. We do one time. Taylor Holmes, come up first. They don't know why they're here. They think Commissioner Russell's going to get on to them. As long as I can get them here. Taylor was selected Employee of the Month for many reasons. Taylor's been employed with the city for over a year. Her positive go-get attitude shows every day as she goes above and beyond in everything she does. She is a very hard worker who is loyal and dedicated. Taylor is always cheerful, willing to assist any department and do any task asked of her. Taylor has taken on many new challenges since the storm and has done a great job in all the tasks put before her. We appreciate the effort and time she puts into her job, and she is an asset to the city of Lenexa. You'll get this, and I'll get this.
Can you get together real quick for
Come
me?
on, darling. Oh, wait, now you're clicking too much now.
I know. It's fun.
Thank you. And my next one will be Stephen Hodge. And these are my normal employees, but through the storm, they have been put everywhere, places they didn't want to go, places they did want to go, and everything. So, but Stephen was selected to be Employee of the Month because of his willingness to do any job assigned to him. Stephen has been part of our team for a little over a year now. During this time, Stephen's faced a number of challenges at his workplace. Helped organize this baseball, where we moved to baseball, then the disaster come. He got on the disaster team, and then most recently, he got put where he really didn't want to be. He got put into being a code enforcement officer. During that time, Stephen demonstrated the skills and work ethics of an outstanding city employee, determined to complete any assigned task, and detail-oriented, well looking for alternate situations when needed, just to name a few. And I'm happy to report that he represents the city in a very professional and effective manner. So can you congratulate Stephen?
I'm especially honored to say that the person for Employee of the Month The last one is Catherine Gay. She has no idea that this is going to happen. This is the person who comes in and takes our photos. Catherine is an extraordinary employee on all ends. Let me just tell you a little bit about Catherine. Last year, Catherine came in and we hired her about this time last year. And she impressed me so much. One of the things that was really great about her, she asked me, she said, do you mind if I just volunteer to work the July 4th parade? Well, all the employees at the city of Lynn Haven know you volunteer for the city of Lynn Haven July 4th parade regardless. But she didn't even know that yet. And she worked it all day long. She was not getting paid. She took an off day from her previous job to come and see how we actually ran this parade so that she be a part of the whole July 4th celebration. And she was there. Then during the storm, she was stuck in Gainesville. I think it was somewhere along in there. And one of the reasons that the citizens of Lynn Haven were communicated to so well is that Catherine was one of the people who was constantly putting out stuff, constantly trying to update for those who had any kind of cell phone or any type of communication. She is an extraordinary employee. You ask her to do and she says yes. She doesn't say why. She says, I will get it done. She helps us on all the events. If you pass by their office, they have the awesome marketing team. And I can actually say they are the awesome marketing team. She is just a great employee, and we thank you so much. She had no idea she was going to happen today. She did not order this one. We had to sneak it by her because she's the one that orders. Thank you, Catherine. And that concludes Employee of the Month. To finish up the city manager report, just very quickly, the July 4th parade is coming. It is July 4th. And as usual, we will have the pancake breakfast at 7 a.m. That will be sponsored by the Rotary, Lynn Haven Rotary. It's a little different this year, but we're going to make it work. They're actually going to be cooking out of our concession stand and be set up under the white tent. So we invite you to come out and support the Lynn Haven Rotary and the pancake breakfast at 7 a.m. 8:30 we'll have the prayer, the opening prayer. 9 a.m. the parade will start. We will get through the parade and we'll have all the activities and festivities at Sheffield Park from 9 a.m. to 1. We'll have that great watermelon eating contest again this year. We had so many people. I think we had almost 30 people try to eat as many watermelons last year. And then we'll end at 1 o'clock, and then at that night we'll go to Kensall Park from 6 to 9 p.m. And at 9 p.m. we'll have the great kickoff of our fireworks, which is going to be great this year. We've added a few more things to it, and I think you'll really enjoy that. Our entertainment will be True Soul. So we invite you to come out and spend the entire day with us and enjoy the 4th of July. Also, this week I've had several meetings with the commissioners. I've had a couple of meetings with Mike Gordon, as you've heard, our temporary building official. He is doing an excellent job. I will say to you that he comes in the morning before staff gets to work, usually about 6:30. He'll pick up any plans, make any preparations for the day. He's helped us with some processes that we had in place that will help us to get out to our citizens a little bit better. And he's working almost until dusk at night to get things done for us. So he's doing a great job, and I thank you, the Commission, for deciding on him. Our community service director and maintenance director, I met with them today, actually yesterday, to talk about getting King Griffin Park back up and running. It is almost there. We have a couple of things that we need to do to clean it up. The bathrooms will still need to be worked on even when we open the park, but we're looking at June 17th of opening up the splash pad, opening up the park so that people can have a great time there. But you'll be very pleased with some of the things we're doing just in a small amount of time. I attended the Community Services Board meeting. We have a great group of people that will be looking at ways for recreation and other community services within the city of Lynn Haven. I also attended the city/county managers meeting. That's once a month that we do. And we're still working on trying to transition from the building that we're in now. PD has already made that transition over to the temporary buildings, and administration is trying to make that as well. I think I saw WOW trucks there today, so we'll be happy to be able to do that. But just a few more things. The 3-on-3 tournament that will be held at Kane Griffin Park, June the 27th. Will begin around 6 p.m. that night. We have some excited residents. David went out and passed out flyers to everyone within that area. I think it's going to be a great turnout we're going to have, and it will be at Kane Griffin Park, June 27th at 6 p.m. We did meet Commissioner Aldridge and I with the census, one of the representatives from the census, and it was really a time to introduce himself and think about how we are going to market and reach citizens that have moved out of this area. That is a very big piece of, if we want to have a true census, how we will reach those folks that are no longer here in the city of Lynn Haven. And so we come up with a couple of ideas that we think will work to make that happen. And then lastly, thank you for the Historical Society for inviting me to the Memorial Day. It was very nice. And that's my report.
Thank you so much. And I would also just like to thank you again for all that you're doing in this period of time to make sure that everything is running smoothly in the city. You're doing a fabulous job, well above and beyond anything anybody could expect. So thank you so much. And also congratulations to the employees of the month. All of you are well deserved. Moving on to item number 6, the city attorney's report.
Mayor, just briefly, I would just to make the commission aware, I anticipate at the next meeting bringing forth a plan as it pertains to the selection process for the next city manager. Obviously, the commission will get to select, but I would like to at least suggest some structure and then get some feedback from the commission, and then going forward, we'll implement that for the selection of the next city manager. So I'll be bringing that next at our next commission meeting in 2 weeks. Otherwise, I have no other update.
Thank you. Item number 7 on tonight's agenda is public commentary. This is a time when anyone from the public who is here who would like to address the commission can come forward. We ask you to come to the microphone because this meeting is recorded and people are watching it from home, and that way they can hear what you're saying or asking as well. You can comment on any item that you like that we're going to discuss tonight, or you can wait until we get to that item, or you can talk about anything that's not on the agenda. So this is your time. Anyone? Ms. Tennell?
She said she didn't find me, so I didn't stand it up, bless her heart. I'm Libby Tennell, 711C, Florida Avenue. And a neat little apartment. Thank the Lord for that apartment, because my house is no good anymore. I'd just like to say the senior citizens, so many of them ask me about when is that center going to open. I don't go over there. I'm not old enough yet.
No, you're not.
But so many of them are so anxious.
Yes.
So I told them I'd bring that up to y'all.
Well, and I would reply to that that it is part of an RFQ for design build for all of the municipal buildings and parks, and that RFQ is going out next month, and then we'll be getting ready to start repairing. I'd also, Eugenia, who is our senior citizens director, has also been making lots of, she was taking the photograph a moment ago, but she has done a great job in the interim of trying to do activities with seniors, and she's been meeting them in various locations.
Well,
so
right.
We're looking forward to getting that back together, and it will be I hope one of our priorities as we begin to
I
move
hope
forward.
so too, because they don't have anything else
It's
to
so
do.
important.
You know?
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
Yes, ma'am. Anyone else? Finch.
James Finch, 14 East 2nd Street. I know y'all getting ready for the 4th of July and y'all want to have a lot of expenditures for the 4th of July, so I brought y'all a check for the 4th of July, which help out.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. I had announced it earlier, so I'm glad you showed up. I'm just kidding. Thank you so much. The children are going to appreciate it. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak? We'd love to have a photograph of you with us. Okay.
One thing, Mayor, Saturday also, we have a shot clinic going on again for the dogs and cats.
Okay, great.
Sheffield Park from 8 to 1.
A shot clinic for dogs and cats, and that's at a reduced price from what you get at other places. So.
All shots are $10. Get their toenails clipped for $5, and then they can also. We did do chips. We are doing chips now too. So.
Very good.
And hopefully this time, last time we put it out there, all 4 other people decided they want to do it at the same time we did. This time it's just us by ourselves.
Okay.
So we should do very well this time.
And that funding goes back into our animal center, correct? Yeah, it does. Thank you all for doing that. That's excellent. And since he's gone and I can't embarrass him, I want to just lift up the check for those of you that just came in and let you know that if you didn't hear this earlier, I had said it would be for $10,000, but the check is for $20,000 for fireworks for the 4th of July. So that's reimbursement. So, proud to know him, proud to have him as a friend. Come on up.
As an aside, we do have silver sneakers now at Roberts Hall on Monday and Wednesdays, and so it's
At what time?
At 10 o'clock,
Okay.
10 to 11, and then they have silver sneakers yoga on Wednesdays at 11:15. And a lot of seniors are starting to come around and know that it's there. And they're so grateful to have anything that it's really affecting their health and everything, well-being. But I also was very concerned about, I was also very concerned about the development of small businesses in our community. And I know everyone on this panel has many thoughts about that. And it disheartens me when I drive and see small business after small business wiped out. And I'm hoping that there's ways that our city can help ease the way for those small businesses to redevelop. I feel like it's the small businesses that are really the heart of our community, and I'm hoping for that. And one of the things that is holding them back, other than the building process currently in place, is, and I'm very, very grateful we're back in-house on the permits. But the other section of that is that we have only 1/3 of our apartments left in Lynn Haven. And they're projecting it'll be 6 months. So that's people won't have apartments before Christmas. And we're looking at the census next year. If there's anything we can do to ease the way to redeveloping the small apartments that would, not small, but the apartment living and the affordable housing that would house many of our employees that would work in those small businesses. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and those are definitely our concerns as well, and we're all working for that. And I know Ben is working very hard at business, and Becca Harden is working very hard at recruiting, and all of us are reaching out. And so, I think that without saying a word, that every one of us would agree with all that you just said. Housing and jobs are what we have to make it happen. So, is there anyone else from the public who would like to speak? Haven't missed anyone? Okay, thank you very much. Then we'll move on to item number 8, which is a consent agenda. We just have one item, that is to approve the minutes from the last regular meeting of May 28th. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
A second? Okay, there is a second. Any discussion, additions, or deletions from the minutes? Any from the public? Ms. Gaynor, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Retzel,
Yes.
Commissioner Tender,
Yes.
Commissioner Aldridge,
Aye.
Commissioner Parno,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes, so the consent agenda is approved. And then we'll go to old business, item number 9. This is discussion and possible action regarding results of quotes to demo the tax office. That would be the old Lynn Haven Post Office on the corner of Florida Avenue and 8th Street, right? I was right the first time, thank you. And if you have that report, Ms. Gaynor, thank you.
At the last commission meeting, because Commissioner Tender asked us to go back and at least get quotes to see what it would cost to demo that, and we do have those quotes back. Actually, they range from $15,685, $17,330 to $30,300 and some dollars in a little bit of sense. But you can see the range of those there, and so these are the numbers that are before us. And she wanted to just kind of be able to see what it would cost to put together some kind of parking lot for that area there. And so these are the quotes.
Is there a motion or any discussion?
I have a question
Of course.
of the acting city manager. Is the lowest bid at $15,685? Does that include hauling all the debris away as well?
Yes, ma'am.
That's everything. Okay, thank you.
And I can't make a motion as mayor, but I could certainly make a comment that, you know, all of those prices are within a range that, you know, don't sound completely unreasonable by any means to me. And Commissioner Tender had brought up at the last meeting the need for parking, and we do need parking, and we already own that property. And as Arlene was just saying a moment ago, you know, trying to bring in small businesses, and that has been a goal when we started out 4 years ago talking about a campaign to revitalize Florida Avenue with little businesses. And we already have several there, including a beauty shop, a restaurant, a coffee shop, a dog grooming salon. Mr. Purdue's tax office will be reopening soon, and we really have a shortage of parking there. So, you know, as mayor, I think it's a great idea, and even in this time where finances are a little iffy here and there, I think that that's an amount that we could live with for the benefits that we would get. So that's just my thoughts on it, gentlemen and ladies.
Mayor,
So,
Go ahead, Commissioner
Mayor,
Russell.
If I may, while I'm not against putting a parking lot there, question behooves me, this is just to remove it. I mean, we probably need a price on what it's gonna cost to actually put the parking lot there as well. You know, before we make the decision. I mean, I don't understand, if we're gonna tear it down and not put a parking lot there, I mean, it would make sense not to tear it down and sell it. But again, I'm not against putting a parking lot there because I think it helps Florida Avenue, but I would be concerned with what the cost of putting a parking lot would be.
And I think, if I may, I would think, you know, Florida Avenue was the next street we were about to pave before the storm. We had completed 23 miles, and it was about to be paved in several other places to match, to bring the streets together, which have been paved. I've been going to all those meetings. And the plan was they were going to pave it and then also use decorative pavers in certain sections of it to make it look historic and to make it blend with that area. And I would think, because we cannot use that money for anything else, that half-cent sales tax for paving, that we would be allowed to take that paving from the street and blend it into a parking lot, because that is certainly paving and infrastructure. So I would think that would be covered by that fund if the commission wanted to consider it. So that's where the funding could come from, the logical place.
Mayor, if I may,
Yes.
I brought this up originally because of the hazard and the safety factors there. People are walking down there all the time. I have people with wheelchairs coming by there, and everything is kind of hanging out. And I do want to make it clear, because of transparency, most people know that I own a restaurant there on Florida Avenue. And yes, parking would be beautiful for everybody. But it's to me, it's a real safety hazard having everything just hanging out like that. So with that said, I would like to make a motion that we go ahead and demo that property.
I'll second.
So there's been a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion from the board?
I want everyone to know that I'm 100% behind demoing it, and I discussed whether or not if we didn't rebuild it, do we have to pay taxes? I was fighting for all of you still have to fight. We still have to pay taxes, so we got to rebuild it. Just letting you know. Thanks. That was a joke, everybody. I'm sorry.
Mayor, if I may.
Didn't go over well.
Go ahead, Commissioner Russell.
Again, I am not against putting a parking lot there, and I think it's a good idea. But my vote's going to be no, because I want to know the total cost before I vote yes to something.
And that's certainly respected by everyone here, I'm sure. I would think that, the demolition would be the first step. We could certainly do another step to come up with what we would consider the right path to follow for paving, although I did tell you, I think, what is the most logical one. But at this point, is there any other discussion from the board? Commissioner Tender, a point of detail, if you could amend your motion, can she amend, or does she have to rescind and make a new one? We just need for her to say which of the bids that she would prefer that we use.
Yes, I would just suggest that in her motion, that she make a selection of the bid, awarding a bid to the company that will be doing the demo, and then thereafter she would need a second.
And I have a question for you, Mr. City Attorney, as well, because we have 3 bids there that are ranging in price. Is this something that needs to be decided by a committee, or is she obligated to go to the low bid, or how does she make this selection so we have no lack of transparency?
I'm sorry, Mayor. I did not mean to cut you off. I'd have to go back to the city manager to see how it was bid. Was it bid as an RFP, RFQ, or a low bid?
This is just a quote. When you do a quote, usually you have 3 quotes, and the lowest quote gets the award.
Okay.
So would Commissioner Tender amend her bid to include the lowest bid of those 3? Would that be the proper procedure?
I think it would be appropriate for Commissioner Tender to select the bidder, the appropriate bidder in her motion.
Thank you.
Okay, well, I rescind the first motion, and this motion is to go ahead and demo the building, and I am also suggesting we go with Bird Enterprises and Land Development from Panama City.
And is there a second to that motion?
I'll second the motion.
There's been a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Mayor, if I may,
Yes, please.
is this possibly a reimbursable expense, City Manager?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and I'm the mayor, then I'm going to respectfully change my vote. So
Well, we haven't called for the vote yet, so you still got
time.
time. Okay. Is there anyone else? Anyone from the public like to speak? Okay, Ms. Gaynor, if you please call the roll.
Commissioner Tender,
Yes.
Commissioner Aldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Perno,
Yes.
Commissioner Russell,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes, and so the motion does carry. As a point of order, in the future, it is okay when we're having discussion to hint at what your vote is going to be. In other words, if you've got negative comments, we're assuming that you're not going to vote for it, but it is not acceptable to say how you're going to vote before the vote is called for. So just a point of order for everyone on the commission. Thank you.
I apologize, Mayor.
No problem, just a point of order. Okay, Ms. Gaynor?
Number 11.
This is the discussion and approval of task order. I forgot to cross out 10, and I sometimes forget if I've called for the motion or what. Number 11 is the discussion and approval of task order number 2. Nope, I missed one. Excuse me, number 10.
Excuse me.
We're both missing it.
Yes.
Number 10, discussion and approval to erect an American flag in Sheffield Park. Commissioner Tender, would you like to comment on this since you brought it?
Yes, Mayor. The reason I brought this up is because at the last concert, or a few days before the last concert in the park, I had a resident call me, and she said, I have so many friends that are retired military and current military. And she said, just in the last couple of weeks, 3 of them have called me and asked me why there's no flag at Sheffield Park. And she brought up a very good point. We have a gorgeous center of our city in Sheffield Park. We've spent an enormous amount of money to make it as beautiful as it is. So I said to her, I was almost embarrassed. I said, you know what, I don't know why we don't have a flag. But it would seem to me that it would finish off our park and show a great deal of respect
to all those military folks that live here and to our country. And honestly, I was just going to make a motion that we again get bids on it, because I'd like to see a very tall flagpole with a nice big flag, and I'd also like to see lights on it at night to really just to commemorate our city and our country. So that would be my motion, is to just get bids on the flag. I don't know how expensive they are, I have no idea, but I think it's very, very important.
So your motion is just to get the cost of it initially and then bring it back, is that?
That's correct,
Okay,
Mayor.
thank
Just
you,
to get the
Commissioner.
cost.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Tender. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
There's a motion and a second to find out the cost, or to get several quotes for an American flag in Sheffield Park, a large flag that's lighted. And there's been a motion and a second. Any discussion from the board?
And Mayor, if I may.
Yes.
Before we build a flagpole, would we, and would we not look at the stage area there and see if we can drop a permanent American flag from the stage, which is a focal point of the park already, and have a nice light on it there? So because honestly, as you go by the park, the stage catches your eye, and it might actually be something that we can, that it can actually roll up, and when you have someone on the stage, and roll down or be in the back, when it needs to be, or so forth. It might be more cost effective if we utilize the stage, which is a very tall structure to begin with. So.
And so since there's been a motion and a second on finding the cost for what Commissioner Tender asked for, that we would stay with that. But then when she brings it back, I think we could entertain, alternatives. And because I was also going to make just a couple of comments about it, because I'm well in favor of what Commissioner Tender has asked for.
As am I. I just
Yes.
thought that maybe that we can bring more light
Yes.
to the stage, or run
Sure.
the pole from the stage.
Sure. And but keeping in mind that as we begin to rebuild over there with the new City Hall, that was in a drawing too, to be right there and in front of City Hall, but that may be deferred to as we begin to discuss. And then another thing is to keep in mind where we would place it, and all those things we can discuss, because we have the big Christmas tree in the center of the park too. And then you've got to think about your sight lines with the stage when people are, all those things I think would be maybe for a later discussion after we find the cost. Is that acceptable to everybody on the board? That we just go with the original motion right now for the cost?
Sure.
Okay. Any further discussion? Any from the public? Okay, Ms. Gaynor, if you'd call the roll. Oops, I'm sorry, I missed someone. Who did I miss?
Mr. Miller.
Oh, Mr. Miller, did you want to make a comment? You can make it from there, sir.
Yeah, Leon Miller, 1508 Mississippi Avenue. If you're going to put a flag there, we should put a flag in every park.
I like that. So maybe, well, we have already had the motion. What if we go ahead with the motion, Mr. Miller, and find out the cost of this one, and then as we move forward, we could discuss how many of them we would, would put, where would we put them, how big would they be, and all that. Is that acceptable?
That's acceptable.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Gaynor, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Tender,
Yes.
Commissioner Russell,
Yes.
Commissioner Perno,
Yes.
Commissioner Aldridge,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes. So we'll go forward to find out a price on a beautiful flag. Item number 11, discussion and approval of task order number 2 with Marshall Brothers Construction and Engineering Incorporated for abatement and demolition of the old gas station at the northeast intersection of 12th Street, that is County Road 389 and State Road 77. Ms. Gaynor, did you have a report on that?
Yes, ma'am. Marshall Brothers is already on the contract. They have already done some demo for us for the PD and chambers, which now you can see out there where the big tent is. But we also kept them on the contract and stated in their contract any demo work that the city will need. We will be able to utilize that contract to do that. So this will be task order number 2. We bought the building on Highway 77. And this is the old gas station, and because it is a little bit more, we thought to bring it to the commission, because it will include really putting together or digging up the old oil tanks. It will also include paving, demo, hauling off everything. So it's a much more massive job than just demoing and hauling stuff away. So this is the next task order that will be done for the old gas station off of 77, Highway 77.
Thank you. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion for approval and a second. Are there any questions or any discussion from the board?
Mayor, I have a question.
Please go ahead.
At the cost involved in this, is this something that will also be covered under our FEMA reimbursement or anything of that nature?
This will probably be something that will not be under FEMA reimbursement. I think we bought this after the fact. But it will be utilized, yes, it'll be utilized for parking, which is much needed.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Are there any questions or discussion from the public? Mr. Walker?
Rich Walker, 1106 Michigan. Does the cost include any possible contamination? That is a gas station.
Yes, sir, it does.
That?
It sure does.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Ms. Gaynor, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Russell?
Yes.
Commissioner Aldridge?
Yes.
Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Commissioner Perno?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes. So that stands approved, and we'll move forward with that. Item number 12 is discussion and approval to schedule and coordinate public meetings regarding the design and rebuild of the city buildings. As many of you already know, probably all of you already know, during the storm we either lost completely or most of the buildings were severely damaged. And so we're really, and the parks as well, we're really looking at a design and rebuild basically of the entire municipality as far as our look, our brand, what we want it to be. And many midnight discussions were held by staff, by the police department, the fire department, all of us just sitting, around at night. What do we want this to look like? And so we have some things in place already as far as ideas. We have an architectural rendering of what a new city hall could look like. This drawing has a police department on the bottom floor, administrative offices on the second, and a meeting room on the third. It's a beautiful rendering, but one of the things that we all kind of agreed on, staff, as we were talking, to keep that old Florida architecture look that centers around our city hall. We've talked about the old city hall maybe being a museum where we could bring all the artifacts that we had in the library that we were able to save, and maybe bringing things from people's homes they would like to donate. The parks, we've already got a lot of progress done in the parks, cleaning them up. But with all that said, the sports complex, the library, the senior citizen center, we know we want to rebuild it, but we also want everyone in the city to have a thought and a voice, sort of like we did 4 years ago, about a month after I became mayor, when we had, I think, 3 public meetings when we talked about what Sheffield Park would look like. And we all put sticky notes on the tables. I don't know if many of you remember that, but they were very productive types of meetings. And so what I would like to suggest to the commission, and possibly someone would make a motion for, is that because our fourth meeting of each, or the fourth Tuesday of each month, our second meeting of the month is always at 6 p.m. and would allow more people to be able to be here, what I would like to maybe have you consider is that for the months of June, July, August, and September, that's 4 meetings, that we would have a public input, public hearing, public meeting, whatever we want to call that, for those meetings, starting at 6, and then let that last for about an hour. We won't hold it to that if it's very spirited, and then try to have our agendas for the 4th meeting rather short, and then we could do our regular agenda afterwards. And so I had sort of sketched it out as in June, maybe we could have ideas about City Hall, July, the Senior Citizens Club and the Garden Club, August, the Sports Complex, and September, the library. That's just some ideas of mine. City staff may have a different idea because of the way our design build RFQs are put out, what needs to be talked about first, what will take the most discussion. But basically what I just wanted to put before the commission tonight is if you would agree to go forward with that, if someone would make a motion in a second, that we would make those meetings public hearings. And it just gives everyone an opportunity to say what they like and don't like and what they would suggest.
So moved.
Mayor, can I
Of course.
ask
Go ahead.
a question on this? Would it be prudent to possibly put together a beautification board appointed by.
We have one already.
I'm talking about just for hurricane, like the buildings that we're looking at, the city hall, these things, that's just gonna focus on that. And the reason I bring that up, the only reason I bring that up, is timing. I agree with you with the 6 o'clock meetings. It's good that we do it not during work hours, so I agree with that. But it may be beneficial to have a group that's going to take some of these ideas that we have, put together these things, kind of like we do with the planning board, and then bring the ideas back narrowed down instead of all of us just free-for-alling it, so to speak.
Well, with all due respect and great respect for that suggestion, when we had our public meetings about Sheffield Park 4 years ago, we had many times well over 100 people in the room, and it was very orderly. It was not a free-for-all, and everybody had an opportunity. I just think that this is just me, and everybody else may disagree, but I think it's such an important historic time. It's a time of healing. It's a time of rebuilding. And I just don't want anyone who lives in this town, it's going to take courage to stay in this town, for one thing. A lot of people have already moved away. And I just think everyone has to have that opportunity to have the voice. And because we already have a beautification board, they could be used, and it might be that after we had these public meetings, even the public might want to appoint people to represent them. I don't know. But initially, I would really like to see 4 big, public, noisy, argumentative free-for-alls where we all argue it out and decide what we want. That's kind of what I envision. So I don't know what everybody else thinks.
Mayor, I agree with you, and I'd like to second the motion.
I didn't make a motion. Somebody will have to make it.
Dan,
oh,
I
Dan
believe
did.
Dan
Okay,
did.
thank you. I'm sorry. Thank you.
I'd like to second the motion, and yes, I think the public needs to be involved all the way through on everything we do in rebuilding our city.
And I don't think Brandon was saying the public didn't need to be involved. He was just trying to make it a little more streamlined. That's a good word. So I didn't mean any disrespect by that. So there's been a motion and a second. Is there any more discussion from the board? Any comments from the public? So if Ms. Gaynor, would you please call roll?
Yes, ma'am. Commissioner Russell?
Yes.
Commissioner Parno?
Yes.
Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Commissioner Aldridge?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes. So that is very exciting to think about, and we will just leave that to staff for you all to look at, the timing of what building and what area needs to be discussed on what time. So, then we'll announce it and make sure everybody knows. Moving on to item number 13. This is the discussion and possible action to approve the task order proposal for the construction of Lynnhaven Sports Fields from Panhandle Engineering. City Manager, discussion?
Yes, ma'am. At the last commission meeting, the commission voted to move ahead with the sports complex, the ball fields there, and King Griffin Park ball fields. And we were tasked with Panhandle to go back and put together design, come back with some numbers to present before the commission. And he has done that. Panhandle Engineering has done that, and has proposed to us a scope of work. And the pre-design opinion will be completed by January 2020. And, a pre-design opinion of the probable construction is approximately about $6 million. And then the pre-design will probably be finished around about January, meaning the entire thing will be finished around January. And so with that in mind, there is some cost in terms of the design part of it, which is a sub-consultant of Dewberry, Panhandle, and Magnum Engineering. And that cost will be in the neighborhood of $239,750, which is approximately about 4% of the construction cost estimation. This is an estimation. It could be more, it could be less, but that is the cost. The FEMA cost estimating format allows for over 10% of these fees as well. And so there's several components as to how this can be done. And I'll let the commission discuss and see what they want to go first.
Thank you. So discussion and possible action is what this says. And I have some thoughts that I would like to express, but I don't want to, take over the discussion. So if I want to leave it open, if there's a motion and a second, or if there's discussion, or if there are questions from the board, and then then we can go forward. We're all
Mayor-
quiet? Okay.
Mayor, if I may, could I ask that the city engineer stand up and explain this a little bit better?
Sure.
If that's okay.
That's quite all right. Go ahead.
Sure. I think what you have before you is a task order for us to expedite the design process just for the fields. There's a total of 9 ball fields that include AAA, AA, softball, t-ball, football/soccer fields. And then we would anticipate completing the design sometime the end of June, early July, bidding out just the ball fields with the sod and irrigation so that we can get the sod down by September. The other components, which would include some stormwater, would include some restrooms, concession stands, fencing, the lighting, the LED lighting, and all of those other components. That also includes the additional parking that we have to put in specifically at Ken Griffin. There's some additional parking at the sports park that there's a desire to install. There's batting cages. There's other playgrounds like the ones over at Shepherd Park. There's sails that need to go in between all the fields. So there's a lot of different components that go into that $6 million. But all those other things, other than the sod and other than the irrigation, would be installed in phase 2. And the objective would be to get all those things done through the winter and get those done by February when ball season starts.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. So, since it's a little bit quiet up here, I will go ahead and say what I think, and then everybody else feel free to jump in, and also the public as well. I am probably one of the largest advocates for children anywhere. I taught many years. I was the one who pushed forward with splash pads and parks when I first came in, and I'm a huge advocate for children of all ages, all sports, all activities, everything. We are in the 8th month after the 3rd most catastrophic storm to ever hit the United States, a Category 5. And the cost of this, at the last meeting, it was voted to take it out of this design build for all the rest of the city and make it separate with the purpose of doing it first, and I get it, to get the grass planted and make sure that it's ready for ball season. But FEMA has approved what we had planned with the design build, with all of our city there, with all of our buildings, our parks, and the way it was set up is so that we could prioritize as we moved along with the construction. And right now we have not yet received all of our insurance money back. All that we've received, what we have in the bank right now after some of the expenditures from our insurance, is $5.2 million. We have bills in excess on our just invoices. We're going to get a lot more, but invoices of around $14 million for debris. We're still waiting for FEMA to put $4.9 million in our bank account. We're going to get it, but it's not here yet. And there's another 8 coming. The problem with this, I know that we can build these ball fields, and I know that we will get reimbursement as we reestablish the parks. But to be reimbursed, we have to pay up front. We don't have the money to put out $6 million right now for the ball fields. And I'm sorry, I know that it's terrible to say that. I asked staff to look to see how many children this involved who actually live at Lynn Haven addresses with Lynn Haven parents who pay Lynn Haven taxes. 147 out of 487 kids last year lived here in Lynn Haven. And so when you think in terms of $6 million, even though I love baseball, in fact, I stood in front of Florida Blue this week and said, "We are baseball." I've stood in front of the Triumph Board 3 times, and I'm going to stand in front of them again and ask for that $15 million grant. But at this point in time, I believe the priority is going to be to get our City Hall rebuilt, to get our library rebuilt, to get our Senior Citizen Center up and running, and then the parks. Most of our parks are usable right now. We're using our splash pads. Our parks, Ken Griffin Park has so many opportunities for different things. It's in the middle of a neighborhood, and it's got insurance money that's coming back. So I am not against the sports complex. The motion, I didn't like the fact it was pulled out the way it was at the last meeting, but I think to move forward at this time when our city we're in a good place financially. We are recycling money as FEMA's bringing it in. We're going to be able to move forward. We're keeping our insurance money in a separate account. We're not paying debris bills with that insurance. That money's going to be used to put those buildings back. The money that we spend on debris hauling is money that we're cycling through FEMA. It's in a separate place. Everything's being done in an orderly way. And to jump out in front and spend $6 million ahead of all of that for baseball, it's going to make some children sad, but they could play for one more season just like they did this season in another place, Southport, the beach, wherever, because kids come from all over the county to play here. And despite what was said last time by someone from the audience, I believe they will come back when we get it built. And I believe we will get it built, and it will be beautiful. So those are my feelings, and I'll defer to anyone else who wants to speak on the board at this time.
Mayor, if I may.
Sure, go ahead, Commissioner Russell.
Obviously, I'm the gentleman that had asked that it be brought out of the RFQ. And it's my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, but there may be some questions about our RFQ method being reimbursable. Or at least that's what I
They've been cleared up, Commissioner Russell. We're totally cleared up with that. And it's all reimbursable.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you clearing me up on that. But I still contend that, like I said before, the fields, the ball fields, the parks, and the rec center come before City Hall. City Hall doesn't affect citizens. When we build this new City Hall, you're still going to go to the service center to be serviced. You're not going to be going to the new City Hall. Other than looking at a pretty building, or if you go meet with an administrator, then you'll go in there. But otherwise, you're still going to the red brick building, which is the service center. So I don't feel like the new City Hall is going to have a direct effect to citizens, where the parks and the senior citizen is. And I said at the last meeting that my next step is to ask us to expedite the senior center. My whole goal is to take care of the kids and take care of the seniors. Don't get me wrong, I think if you ask any city employee, I am very pro-employee. But I think as a whole, we have to take care of the citizens first. And building a new City Hall is taking care of the employees. And I think that's a mistake, and that's why I pushed this forward to try to get the parks done. And like I told you before, my next step is going to be to try to push this commission to move forward as fast as they can with the senior center. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner Russell. And I would respectfully answer that with the City Hall is where we have commission meetings. Right now we're borrowing a room to have a commission meeting in. The new City Hall would house the police department in a secure and safe place for their evidence for all the things that they need. It's not just for the employees. And I would also say that if you read carefully what a design build says, you can prioritize it any way you want. If the ball fields were included in that, if the commission voted, the ball fields could have been first. However, the Senior Citizen Center still remains in the design build, and it will be part of those public meetings that we're going to have with the people from the town talking about what their priorities are. And I would believe that the majority of the citizens in this town are going to say that what is for the greater good of the entire city outweighs 147 children playing ball for one season. Not forever, just one season until we have the money to pay for it. And we've done so many things much more quickly than the other cities to get parks up and running already for our children here. So, and I'll just leave it there, and I'll promise that's my last statement. Anyone else?
Mayor, if I may,
Please go ahead.
Just like to say that even if it's only 147 kids, that's 147 kids that'll be playing ball in the spring, and that means, you know, if they have to wait another year, you know, numbers could be diminishing as far as getting them on the field. I think that's 147 kids that are playing ball. That's hopefully 400 parents and grandparents who are watching those kids play ball. It's bringing back normalcy to our town. It's helping get people's minds straight on what's good and what's fun about Lynn Haven. And I'm all for pushing forward on getting the kids back on the field. That's in my heart. Now, does it make sense? You know, if we're going to get paid back, and we could carve it out and get it done faster. It's all about planting that grass and getting the kids back on the field. So that's to me, that means a lot. And it's only 147 kids, but it bleeds out through a lot of family trees, and it sends a message to that we're trying hard to make them feel good, make them feel normal, get them back. We got a lot of kids with PTSD out there. We don't even know what the numbers are on that. If we can give them a sense of normalcy, it'd be great. And then I agree with Commissioner Ressler and you. Our senior center means a lot too. So I think we've made the first step to do it. If we just gotta get in there. Either way, it's going to get done, as fast as it could, inside of one thing or the other. We've made the step. I think we're ahead engineering wise. We may as well make the commitment and go forward and send a message to our town and our kids that we want them back playing ball. So that's how I feel. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Perno. But I'm just saying to you, we cannot be reimbursed by FEMA until we pay it up front. And the city right now cannot even afford the $237,000 for the engineering, much less, there's $1.8 million in the community services budget for the entire year. Where is the $6 million that you're going to spend is my question. Where is it?
Mayor, if I may?
Go ahead, please.
Do we not have $5.7 million in insurance proceeds already?
Those are for the buildings.
No, ma'am. Insurance proceeds are not directed to any particular thing. They can be used for other items. There's no rule or no law that says that if you're paid insurance proceeds on this building, it has to be spent on this building. So we could use this money for the parks, and then we get the money for the parks, use it for City Hall. If I'm incorrect with that, please correct me.
I think I'm finished for everything I have to say. If this commission votes to go forward to spend $6 million when the Community Services Board has 1.8 in it, then you can explain to the voters. I'm not going to. I've already said what I think. So,
Mayor, if I may?
Please go ahead.
I just want to voice the fact that I get senior citizens that come to me all the time. And one lady came in and she was extremely passionate about it. And she looked at me and she said, you know what? She said, I'm 80-some years old. I lived to go to the senior center. That was my daily routine, constantly. It was the only place I could go, socialize with people, my peers, and do the things that I enjoyed doing. She said, children, and she was very upset, I'll be honest. She was upset about the parks and all that. She said, children can go out in their backyard and play. They can get in a car, and high school kids can go down the street or to the nearest park or whatever, wherever they have to go. And little children, they're playing out in the mud puddles or whatever. She said, senior citizens can't do that. She said, now I can't even get to a senior center. And we were discussing options and things of that nature. But I did agree with her. Their routines for a senior citizen are so set. Their routines are extremely important to their health, their mental health and their physical health. And I just want to make that point because I've always been, let's get the senior center together. And of course, the second one behind that one is the library. But I also understand, and I do direct our seniors to go to the 11th Street Library downtown until we get ours back up and running. But even the cost of the senior center to have it repaired, I don't think is nearly as high. I think if I'm correct, the structure is still good. We need a new roof. We need to clear out the parking lot, that property that we purchased to the right of it. But I just wanted to share that with the citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Tender. Anyone else from the board wish to speak on this issue or the item?
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we move forward with the task order.
There's been a motion made that we move forward with the task order.
I'll second it.
There's been a second. Is there any further discussion from the board? Is there any from the public? Ms. Arlene?
First, I would like to say that where I live, I have been watching since the hurricane. Our first responders do a tremendous job under very trying circumstances. They are no longer housed in a safe location. They are giving shift report out in public under a tent. And our first responders, I would like to take care of them and have them home, not floating around. And I also am a little, it sounds like the ballparks have jumped to the front of the line, you know? And I really don't like people doing that to me at Publix. And if we are going to have all these months of public meetings to gain from the public, what do we want? And how are we going to shape our city here forward? To take the ball fields out of the public discussion doesn't seem quite kosher to me. Excuse me.
Anyone else? Mr. Miller?
Leon Miller, 1508 Mississippi Avenue. I hear you discussing about baseball, soccer, or sports for kids. What is number one sport for kids today? Through junior high school and high school. If I ask you that question, lacrosse. Most schools are developing a lacrosse team. That's what we need to focus on the kids here in Bay County. Lacrosse. Scholarships are being given to all kids with lacrosse. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Anyone else? Yep, go ahead.
My name is Jerry Deal, and I don't have a house, so I can't tell you where I live. And my house is being worked on. I would like to say that I probably have been to the Senior Citizens building maybe 2 times since it's been open, because I'm not that really interested in doing that every day. But there are a lot of people that live in Lynn Haven that go there every day to be able to have lunch, because they probably don't have the money to buy food to have lunch. And that's what worries me about the situation. I don't care if you do all the stuff with ball stuff anytime if you've got the money to do it with, but it doesn't seem to me like you have the money to do it with. Maybe some of you guys could put your heads together that want the ball games to go on, and maybe borrow the money up front until the money comes in from FEMA or wherever it's coming from. But for God's sakes, don't leave the old people out where they don't even have a place to go eat lunch.
Ms. Gill, if I may, we'll go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I'm done.
Brandon, you can go ahead. And full disclosure, this is the mayor's mother speaking, so.
You can tell me to sit down.
No, you can stand up, Mother.
So we can put it out there also. I mean, we have been thinking about it. I know I have. I know I got with Miss Vicki, and you know, I'd ask, can we look at Roberts Hall at doing donuts twice a week and cards and games? What can we do? What can we rent a place? Can the city pay for rent for an existing building to try? Because I agree with you. I'm having lunch with a lot of the seniors in a week, and they wanted to sit down and give me the what for, I guess, about we need to get this rebuilt. And I agree 110% we do. I don't disagree with that at all, but I do think that we need to, because money's tight, we do need to look at possibly renting some space if we can, until we can build what we need to build. But my reason of saying that, though, is I am thinking about it, I promise you.
Well, I'm going to say one more thing. It scares me to death to think about spending $6 million when Lynn Haven is in debt for all this debris that's got to be gotten out of town. But that's all I'm going to say, and you guys can do whatever you want to, but something's going to happen when we run out of money on Lynn Haven.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Mr. Walker?
Rich Walker, 1106 Michigan Avenue. I remember when we got into the discussion about Frankfurt Avenue group that used to take care of the senior center, okay? And I remember that as it evolved. And I remember our dedication by Mr. Russell into that program. What about the garden club property? What status is that?
It's included in the design build.
But can it be repaired quick?
Yes, it actually
Could that be
can.
used for the senior center?
Yeah, just a couple of things for the senior center. We have 3 things that we know that need to be done very quickly, just to preserve the buildings. And so right now we have engineering working on a roof. How much it would take to put a roof on the top of the senior center, the garden club, and the service center. So we want to get those roofs on there. Just talking to staff last week and said, once we get roofs on there, that is forced labor. We can do that ourselves, the inside of that, and we will be reimbursed for that money. So forced labor, we can account for it, and then we can be reimbursed for that. So that is the plan with those 3 buildings there. They are not going lacking. Matter of fact, Commissioner Aldridge and I had a long discussion about that, and that is really the plan of way it should go, things that you can do quickly. These are called kind of 406 projects that you can put out there, do quickly, and get people back up where they are going. And so that right now is our plan, and we are thinking about you on every sense of the word.
Along the lines with that, the downtown Frankfurt group, as I understand it, are sending buses up here to pick up our people from the senior center. So the people have a place to go. Can we wait and get the time to do what you want to do? Seems that that's the plan.
Yes, sir.
That seems to be the plan.
Yes,
And if you need help, I know I've got enough buildings to worry about.
Yes, you
But
do.
if you need help putting a roof up, go to our local contractors, city, for example, and go out and ask for help. And I'll go up there and I'll do whatever I can to do it.
Thank
But
you.
get a plan to take care of the senior center.
Yes.
And that seems to be the way to go.
Yes, sir.
And let Frankfurt Avenue take care of the people for the interim.
Yep. Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
May I ask Chris a question real quick? The ball fields, I know we're throwing around the $6 million number. That's a completed park, correct?
Yes, that is with everything that I mentioned earlier.
What are we looking at on just planting some grass and getting some dirt? It's great.
You know, we sort of talked about that this morning. I think that's probably in the little less than $1 million range.
More feasible to get us
And so-
going.
And again, when we bid the work out, it actually has to come back to you again before you approve any of those construction dollars.
So that my skate park's in there.
No.
Oh, okay. We'll revisit
Not
that
yet,
one then.
not yet.
All right, gotcha. All right, thank you. That answers my question.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak? There's been a motion and a second. We've had discussion. Ms. Gaynor, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Russell?
Yes.
Commissioner Perno?
Yes.
Commissioner Aldridge?
Yes.
Commissioner Tender?
No.
Mayor Anderson?
No. Moving on to item number 14. I just have to say one more thing before I move on to item number 14. I am so disappointed in that vote, and I hope that somebody that voted yes can explain to the public where you're going to get the $6 million to pay for this while we're waiting to be reimbursed, because we are struggling. Ms. Gaynor and I have been at every single FEMA meeting since day one after the storm, and there has been a plan in place. And I'll just get off the soapbox, but I am just so disappointed in that. And I'm not going to use the word that Commissioner Russell used last time, but I am very disappointed in the decision that was made tonight.
I think the citizens are disappointed with all of you folks that
And
voted.
we'll move on at that point. Moving on to item number 14. This is discussion and approval to amend the city engineering contracts with Panhandle, Dewberry, and Mott McDonald to comply with FEMA federal guidelines. And this is sort of a housekeeping that we need to do with FEMA just to bring us in line, and Ms. Gaynor will be explaining this to
That
us
is
now.
exactly right. There are some federal guidelines, and in every contract when you're dealing with FEMA that you have to include and make sure that the contractors sign off on those and that they will follow those. And in order for even all of our city engineers to be their work to be completed, and even for it to be reimbursed, these federal guidelines have to be included in their contracts. Otherwise, that is not reimbursable, and so we have to add this to their contracts to amend it.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any question or discussion on this item? There appears to be none. Are there any questions or discussion from the public? There appears to be none. Ms. Gaynor, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Russell?
Yes.
Commissioner Tender?
Yes. Yes.
Commissioner Aldridge?
Yes.
Commissioner Perno?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes. And so we will move forward with that. And with that, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you for coming.
Yes, sir.